Hello and welcome to Anomalous History. In this video, we will discover why Joe Biden skips King Charles' coronation, and Harry uses a dark trick to stay in the U.S. U.S. President Joe Biden has reportedly decided to prioritize a trip to Northern Ireland over attending the coronation of King Charles in the UK next month. According to sources, the president will send a delegation of high-profile representatives to the coronation in his place. This decision is not entirely unexpected, as it follows a long-standing tradition of diplomatic protocol that considers it inappropriate to send a figure who would overshadow the monarch being crowned. It is also in keeping with President Biden's apparent focus on domestic issues and his reluctance to become overly involved in international events. Despite this, sources close to President Biden maintain that his relationship with King Charles is strong. They suggest that the president may even make time to meet the monarch during his visit to Northern Ireland. The decision not to attend the coronation is unlikely to have any significant impact on the relationship between the US and the UK. The two countries have a long history of close ties, and President Biden has repeatedly emphasized the importance of the special relationship between the two nations. Moreover, the fact that the president is sending a delegation of high-profile representatives to the coronation suggests that the U.S. remains committed to maintaining its relationship with the UK and to supporting the monarchy. While President Biden's decision not to attend King Charles' coronation may be disappointing for some, it is in keeping with diplomatic protocol and is unlikely to have any significant impact on the relationship between the US and the UK. The president's apparent focus on domestic issues is also understandable given the ongoing challenges facing the U.S., and his commitment to maintaining the special relationship with the UK remains strong. Plus, the squalid living conditions of the King's Guard, and a conservative think tank wants to know what Prince Harry said about his drug use on his U.S. visa application. The poor living conditions and low pay offered to royal staff has long been a cause for concern. However, recent photographs published by the Daily Mail depicting rodent-infested, litter-strewn apartments with filthy fridges and blocked toilets in Wellington Barracks, where members of the Kingsguard reside, are likely to renew demands for action on this issue. The barracks are located just yards away from Buckingham Palace and house members of some of the Army's most high-profile regiments, including the Coldstream, Grenadier, Irish, Scots, and Welsh Guards, who are better known as the Guards standing outside royal palaces in bearskin hats. A former Coldstream Guard, who wished to remain anonymous, told the Daily Mail that the living conditions are worse than those of prisoners in Britain. He described the barracks as filthy and said that rats would often die in the bins, leaving an unbearable stench in the air. The soldiers were forced to clean up the mess in the morning as part of their daily routine. The soldiers are said to have to share 6 toilets and 2 bathrooms between 32 privates who live on each floor. They also have to deal with piles of rubbish inside the accommodation areas, making it an unbearable living situation. Many soldiers who have attempted to raise their concerns with senior officers have been ignored or told to fuck off, leading to an environment of resignation and acceptance. One soldier said that they guard some of the most famous people and buildings in the world, but return to a filthy hell hole at the end of the day. The poor living conditions of soldiers, who are doing an important job, are a matter of concern and need to be addressed. The British public deserves to know how their soldiers are being treated, and urgent action must be taken to improve their living conditions. It is unacceptable that these soldiers, who are responsible for guarding the royal family and some of the country's most important buildings, are forced to live in such appalling conditions. A recent news report has highlighted concerns about Prince Harry's admission of past drug use on his visa application. The Heritage Foundation, a US-based think tank, has requested access to Prince Harry's visa application through a Freedom of Information request. The organization is particularly interested in knowing how Harry answered the question, "Are you or have you ever been a drug abuser or addict?" This is because Harry has previously admitted to using drugs, which could potentially affect his eligibility to enter the United States. According to the Heritage Foundation, it is important for the public to know whether or not Harry was truthful in his response to the drug question, as well as who granted any necessary waiver for him to enter the U.S. if he answered yes. The group believes that if Harry was honest about his drug use, he would require a waiver to be admitted into the States, and they want to know who granted him that waiver. The think tank argues that if Harry did indeed answer yes to the drug question, it would typically result in his being denied entry into the country. Therefore, the Heritage Foundation is seeking transparency regarding any waiver granted to him. The group believes that it is in the public interest to know whether or not the visa application process was conducted in accordance with the relevant laws and regulations. Furthermore, the Heritage Foundation's request highlights the issue of drug use and its impact on visa eligibility. It is common practice to deny entry to individuals who have a history of drug abuse or addiction. In this case, Harry's previous admission to drug use raises questions about his eligibility for a visa and whether or not he received special treatment in the application process. However, it is important to note that admitting drug use on a visa application does not necessarily mean a person will be banned from entering the country. There is a waiver process that is decided on a case-by-case basis. Dewey, a representative of the Heritage Foundation, emphasized that there is no suggestion that Prince Harry did anything wrong. If he was granted a waiver, he may not be aware of any political strings that may have been pulled in the process. Dewey also raised concerns about the possibility of Prince Harry being used as a political pawn in an issue that has become a controversial topic in the United States. It is important to consider if the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, is trying to create controversy around the issue of immigration by targeting a high-profile liberal-leaning celebrity. Another question: is a conservative think tank trying to stir up mischief for President Biden around the issue of immigration, with a liberal-leaning high-profile celebrity they can bash on as a bonus too? This questions the motives behind the conservative think tank's request for information regarding Prince Harry's visa application and drug use. The think tank's request could be seen as an attempt to cause trouble for President Biden's administration and to use a high-profile liberal figure as a means of doing so. It is not uncommon for political organizations to use public figures to advance their agendas, and this situation could be no different. However, it is important to note that this is just speculation and there is no concrete evidence to support this claim. It is also important to consider the potential implications of this information being made public. If Prince Harry did admit to drug use on his visa application and was granted a waiver, it could raise questions about the effectiveness of the screening process for potential visitors to the United States. Furthermore, if there was any political influence involved in the granting of a waiver for Prince Harry, it could raise concerns about the integrity of the visa application process and the potential for political favoritism. Attentive readers will note Saturday was April 1, April Fool's Day. We are super excited about you watching our video and look forward to your continued support. It means the world to us. See you in the next video.